The Brokie Epidemic. This video is just being relentlessly recommended to me. YouTube is basically forcing me to watch it. I kind of feel like I'm being called broke. I'm pretty sure there's a video about everybody calling everybody else broke. I think, let's take a look.
So lately, the internet is having beef with broke people, or at least who they perceive are broke people. I'm convinced 90% of the people saying brokey unironically to offend others are usually brokies themselves.
What the fuck is this? This is not being broke. This is just nothing about this is broke. I'm pretty sure there's a Mercedes interior, MacBook, vacation. When I was broke was the brokest actually there's 2 times in my life I was very broke, but the most broke I was ever in my life between the ages of 19 and 22. Right? I had no money. I was broke as a joke. The only things I had to my name was my car, which I had saved up for via jobs, like odd jobs up to that point. It was a 2004 Ford Explorer Sport. Absolute piece of shit. Total dog shit vehicle. One of the worst, I think, things on the road ever. And even worse, it was a 2-door. It looked like this. This right here. A 2-door SUV. It was such a piece of shit. Man, it sucked, but man, that thing got me around a couple places. It was breaking down constantly, but obviously too, it's like when you're 19 to 22, I mean, pushing 22 is starting to get to where it's like, all right, it's time to like make something happen. But it's not like as bad to be broke then as it is when you're 32. If you're 32 and broke, it's not necessarily bad. It's just a lot more stressful, right? Because even if you don't, like, I'm 32 and I still don't have kids and I'm not married. So that's like the 2 main things that I feel like when you hit 32, if you have both of those things, you cannot afford to be broke, quite literally. And I mean, now I'm not broke, but it's still like there's a lot more pressure to not become broke, because I think it's such a thin line, even when you're making a solid income, between being well off and becoming broke almost instantaneously. Like, by that I mean like within the span of 1 to 3 months. Like, it can happen very quickly still at that age. And when it happens at 32, 33, 34, 35, even like 28, 29, 30, in my opinion, it is much more stressful and difficult to deal with than it is when it happens when you're like 20, right? I mean, that's just pretty obvious. But also, I think a lot of the people using the term broke is like Gen Z people. It's like kids. Like, it's like 23-year-olds calling other 23-year-olds broke. I think like if you're 23 and you're making like $10,000 a month doing like e-com or like, I don't know, maybe social media or whatever, you know, that is a absolute ton of money. It is just a mind-blowing amount. So it's like, it's easy to call everybody else a brokey.
Percent of the people saying brokey unironically to offend others are usually brokies themselves. Regardless, I've got to love it.
Brokey, someone who spends on expensive stuff, leaving them with no money. I spent all my money on some hype stuff. Now I'm a brokey. Is that really the term? Is that really what brokey means? When I think of the word brokey, the first thing that pops in my mind is like a dude who's flexing, right? A dude who's trying to make it look like he has money when he doesn't. I actually have a friend. I was just talking about this with somebody like 2 days ago. I have a friend who you would think is so rich, but he's basically paycheck to paycheck. It's funny how the people like that exist, right? And it's so easy to make it look like you're rich nowadays. It's easier than ever, I think. Like, you don't need a lot of money to look rich, but you're actually broke as hell, right? Like, it's so much easier now, I feel like, than it used to be, because you can just rent and finance basically everything. You can finance watches over 5 years like a car. You can make it look like you have tons of money, except for like actually physically having money. You can finance cars on ridiculous terms with basically no proof of a 6-figure yearly income. So you could get an expensive car, you can lease an expensive apartment, and if you're making like $7,000 a month, which is, I mean, I guess it's kind of a lot of money, but it's not also. If you're making it pre-tax and you're supposed to be paying tax, but you're just not. If you just don't pay tax, you got that, and you're like stretching every dollar of that to fund like a lifestyle where you look like you're making a bunch of money. You can look rich. You can get like a $3,000 a month car, a $3,000 a month apartment, and I guess, like, I don't know, share it with somebody or starve, and you can make yourself look rich nowadays pretty easily.
Hate relationship with this term. I think it's pretty funny if used ironically, and actually I still find it funny when used unironically, because it's a huge beacon that basically basically shouts, "I'm the actual broke and jealous one who's projecting it onto everyone else." By the way, you're not a bad person for wanting financial freedom or pursuing a successful level of wealth. I personally don't care about becoming the next Elon Musk of the world, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't at least care enough about money to still be responsible in how I earn it, spend it. The reason I mention this is because a lot of
wait, what the fuck was that?
responsible in how I earn it, spend it, and understand it. The reason I mention
If you use these car bodies, don't talk to me, Broke. These are like the default cars, right? And I think this is like like if you don't buy skins, these are the cars you get. I know this one from Fortnite. Are these like from Rocket League? This is if you can't afford to buy a skin. Bro, I haven't bought.
mention this is because a lot of people who get pitfalled by this brokey ideology are usually doomed to actually be the brokest of all, since they seem to be racing to the bottom by making the rich richer while making themselves even broker, but then calling everyone else broke.
Brokey but wants to be rich starter pack, monk mode. I feel like I'm missing out on a big part of culture because I don't use TikTok, but I know if I did, the algorithm would feed me straight into the like alpha male, making fun of alpha male and talking about like, it probably just actually feeded me the actual alpha male financial guru, take control of your life section of the platform, because that's what I'm most fascinated in. That's like, it's so funny to me, bro. It's just so like, it's ridiculous. And so much of it is so dumb. It's crazy. Like it turns people into like cult members. They get obsessive over it and it becomes a reality. And then that's where I feel like they start calling other people brokies, even though they haven't even started doing anything that is resulting in any type of progress themselves. They just get so obsessed with consuming content about making money, but not actually doing it. And then in their head, they have already decided that they are wealthy before picking anybody. And then they're just like, man, everybody else is broke. They're all stuck in the matrix and in the rat race. I have transcended. I am already above all of these peons and peasants. And it's just a matter of time before the millions become trickling down into my bank account.
Instead,
I love it.
This burrito bowl dinner on DoorDash comes to $41. But thanks to Klarna, you can make 4 payments of $10.40 over the course of 6 weeks instead.
Buy now, suffer later. This is the biggest component pushing
That
forward
shit
the
is actually crazy, bro. Like, is anyone really doing this? This is like one of the punching bags of these types of videos. I feel like, who is actually doing this though? Is there stats on like how many people? I gotta actually look this up. Texas Standard, Americans are increasingly using buy now, pay later loans for essentials like groceries. Data shows food prices are up 30% since 2019. Okay, maybe they are. That's concerning. My personal, here's the thing. I have heard of even I would say financially savvy people using Klarna to get 0% APR purchases on business expenses and, even stuff like furniture, which I don't know. I guess it's not the worst usage of it, but ultimately, nobody wants more monthly payments. Like, I have personally used 0% services, Affirm, to purchase bikes, because it's kind of a tactic that would allow you to invest more aggressively if that's something that you're trying to do. So if you want to add more to your portfolio, if you're trying to buy something that's like $6,000, $7,000, you can use Affirm, split the payments up into 0% amounts, but it's not technically more. So it's cheaper than using a credit card, which is kind of the same concept. However, then you have a monthly payment, even though you're still technically paying the same amount. So, I mean, there's some justification there, but obviously, buying food is nuts. Buying groceries is bad. That is just a sign of everything being really bad, right? In my opinion, that is just everything being bad.
You can make 4 payments of $10.40 over the course of 6 weeks instead.
Buy now, suffer later. This is the biggest component pushing forward the Brokie epidemic, which is the buy now, pay later trap. The most poverty spec behavior that these anti-brokies cope with is how, because they can afford nice things constantly, they must not be the broke ones. Therefore, the real brokies
Hermes bag, don't talk to me brokies,
are all of us who don't have the nice things like they do. Newsflash, financing things isn't actually affording it. Why are we still confusing these two? There's this really cool video where it talks about how a lot of people still mix up wealth and debt.
Denali, 2,500. You jealous, ain't you? Whoo-wee, that's a lot of money. We work at the same place. I know about what you make. Yeah, I know we work at the same place. I got more money than you. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You got a lot of debt. See, you know the difference between debt and money is you got a lot of debt. but I don't think you got that much money.
Having a lot of nice things doesn't mean you can't be a brokey. In fact, most brokies try to hide how broke they are with nice things. Why do you think Labubu's are a recession indicator?
But here's one thing that I learned about financing like vehicles. When you finance a vehicle for the first time, it is so alarmingly easy to get a huge amount of debt with like, it's too easy, right? It's too easy. You walk into the dealership, they look at your credit, you get a credit application ran, it could suck. Your income could be significantly lower than what should make sense for you to be able to purchase the amount of car that you can buy. Like you can easily purchase a $100,000 truck on a $70,000 a year income. Why is it so easy? Like it shouldn't be, right? On paper, it shouldn't be. If you want to buy a $400,000 house, it's not easy. Right? There's like a multiple layers of approval that you need to reach in order to get a loan in the first place. Not just a favorable loan, but a loan, period. But when you want to go buy a truck, it's just like you walk in, you are walking out this. Like if you intend on buying the truck, you will walk out the same day with it. It should not be that easy, in my opinion, right? It just shouldn't be. Especially because, I mean, let's face it, the majority of people just don't even know what they don't know what APR even means. Like they just don't know what it means. So they are like, okay, they're just looking at the monthly payment. Like, oh, the monthly payment is $600 a month or $500 a month. And it's an 84-month loan at like 8% for a new vehicle. And it's a $90,000 purchase after taxes and everything. So what I'm saying is, you do that one time and you see how easy it is, you just do it again. Like, and then you finance 2 cars and then the next thing you know, you can barely breathe, right? You can't just offload that debt either. You can't just be like, oh, never mind, I changed my mind, I don't want to have this debt. Like you have to take a huge loss. And that's honestly how I feel like a lot of people, a lot of dudes specifically who start getting a bunch of money at first. I mean, women too, probably. I don't know if I personally know like anecdotal stories of this. That's why I say dudes, but I'm sure, you know, it applies to anybody. If like car debt will consume you and make you more broke than you could even possibly imagine yourself. And it's as serious as it sounds. It sounds like, you know, it's like, oh, you shouldn't have like bought that. But it's like, it's the same way someone can start doing like crack or something, bro. It seems like it's not like, oh yeah, that person, you shouldn't have started smoking crack. Now you're a crackhead. But it's too, like it's, okay, that's kind of a crazy example, but you know what I'm saying? It like the access that you have to a nuts amount of debt is too easy when it comes to cars. And that's, I feel like
no universe where we have a healthy economy would people be collecting these. It's just ridiculous, right? We even have people on Twitter constantly bragging about stupid things like if your car model year isn't as...
Woman says she lost interest in a date when the man showed up driving a 2017 Hyundai. Just dropped a stack on a new 2025 Hyundai Elantra. If your car ain't as new as mine, we ain't dating. You know, this is the most important thing you could do as a person is drive a beat up ass car on a first date, bro. You always like, I have a RAV4, Toyota RAV4, and I will never let go of that car. If I ever go on like a first date ever again in my life, which I don't think I ever will, I'm going to be forever alone, I think, at this point. But if I ever did, I'm pulling up in the RAV4 100%. I'm going to clean it. I'll make sure it's clean on the outside. I'm going to vacuum the inside, clean on the inside. I'm going to make sure it's clean. I'm pulling up in the RAV4, though. I do have other vehicles, but I'm pulling up in the RAV4. No window tints, no special wheels. The audio is not great. One of the speakers in the rear back seat is kind of like has this tinny sound to it. That's how I'm pulling up. And we're going somewhere maybe not even that fancy for dinner. Like, I don't know, maybe we'll go to a Thai restaurant and spend like hopefully less than $40. You know, that's what you're supposed to do, I feel like. And if a woman loses interest, like if she lost interest because I pull up in a RAV4, tough shit. You know, I don't like, what do you even, that's kind of the RAV4 doing its job. If you think about it, that's kind of the purpose of it, is to scare off people like that. I went on a date with a man. He pulled up in a 2017 Hyundai Elantra. Am I materialistic if that gave me supreme ick? What do you guys think? I'm actually curious to hear what people think. It was mine.
That. I'm not dating you. Or if your car model year isn't newer than insert year, you're a brokey.
This stuff is it's just not serious. It's just not like, there's no way. This is also like from Twitter. So I just feel like these are things that, this one's from a check mark, right? So you get paid if you're a check mark for posting rage bait on Twitter. Everybody knows that. If you're not driving a car from 2018 upwards, you're not a man, you're just a mobile embarrassment. Like, what the are we even talking about, right? Like, what? No, I don't think that's anybody really agrees with that. There's some nice cars from 2018 that still hold up well too. Not even like expensive ones. Like, you know, I don't know. A 2018 Camry still looks like pretty new to me. Agree or too harsh? If your car isn't doing, yeah. Like,
what's sad is that like these are non-car people. Why do they care about what kind of car you have? I mean, in this day and age,
That's
most
true,
people
too.
are even driving like 30-year-old cars. Like the car market is rough. I've already made a few videos covering that topic. And if you enjoyed this video so far, make sure to subscribe, like, all the good stuff. But the thing is, like, lady, no one cares about your freaking 2025 Hyundai. Who cares about model year? Because in that case, a 1992 McLaren F1 must be broke AF. Oh, wait a second. It's actually worth more than their entire bloodline. Yeah, I went there. Not just her net worth, not just her grandparents or great grandparents' net worth, or her future kids' net worth. None of them are going to make that amount of cash in their lifetime, especially with that kind of attitude. I'm so tired of peak consumerism having hijacked a lot of these broke people's brains who constantly buy stuff, and they now think that that makes them rich. Like, again, these items usually depreciate, so everyone has a plan until the rep nation attacks. Like, the only replicas I hate are replica car wheels because it's dangerous to drive on lower quality wheels that are meant to keep multi-thousand-pound machines.
I gotta say something. I gotta admit something right here, right now. I'm gonna go ahead and admit it. Some people actually already know this. I don't know if anyone actually knows this, but there was a point in time, this was back in 2016. This is when Yeezys were hot. Man, I was buying fake Yeezys left and right. I didn't care who knew. I was buying fake Yeezys, and a lot of people got tricked by them. I got reached out to actually by a company, some Chinese, like a drop shipper, and they were like, we can save you some money. I was like, bet. I got 3 pairs. I got the black and red ones, the gray and orange ones. I was broke. I wanted Yeezys, so I got the fake ones. Later on, I got the real ones when I actually started making a little bit of money. I couldn't tell the difference. I genuinely could not. I put the real ones that I got from Flight Club next to the fake ones that I got straight from China. Couldn't tell the difference. That was even back then. I'm sure now replicas got to be insane. I mean, I think a lot of the replicas are in the same factory as the real stuff. Obviously, I don't know about car wheels, but shoes and clothes, maybe even bags. Wasn't there like recently an expose about bags being like the cost of the materials is like $5 for when they sell them for like $5,000
on the road, by the way. That is not something you should be cheaping out on parts for. However, anything else that's replicated is just funny to me, and I absolutely support anyone buying it because most of the fashion industry is a sham anyways, and most of them are actually already replicas. I've also made a video on that in the past as well. This isn't even me talking down to China. I love what they're doing. Again, I think this is funny because most things are already made in China anyways, whether it's handbags, jewelry, or sneakers. Rage baiting people of replicas has to be a commendable act of valor these days. Y'all rep boys, you guys keep up the good fight. I'm so tired of people literally wasting thousands on these things, all using buy now, pay later just to get our brand label and pretend it makes them high status and they have the right to call everyone else brokies who don't have it. Again, if you just look at how real rich people dress, they usually wear unbranded things or they just wear really cheap clothing. Like, at the end of the day, these aren't like a watch from 100 years ago. If it doesn't have actual history, no one's going to care to keep track of whether or not it's a replica or otherwise.
What are we looking at right here? This is the second time we showed that. Oh, this is how you're supposed. Okay, yeah, it's the curvature of the Nike, and then this material right here is a little bit different. Like, who cares, bro? Does anyone actually care? Like, if a man's getting down on his knees to look at your shoes to make sure that they're real or fake, I don't know. I mean, I guess like I will give him that. If I'm wearing fake ones, I'd be like, yeah, bro, drop down to your knees, check them out. They're, why don't you do a legit check right now? And I don't know, like if you really care that much, get your ass down there and look. Like, yeah, go ahead, bro, take a look. Oh, they're fake. Oh, that's crazy. My bad. What are you supposed to do? Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. Speaking of supercars, the most advanced form of buy now, pay later comes with the existence of supercar-specific lenders, also known as exotic car financing. There are 120 to even 144-month financing.
I didn't watch
That's 12 years, by the way. That's almost a 15-year mortgage at that point.
That shit is crazy.
To put this into perspective, someone financing an $80,000 Dodge Challenger.
This is not happening. Nobody's financing a car at credit card APRs. No one's doing that. There's not. I hope, right? That's not actually happening, is it?
Hellcat for 29.99% APR for 72 months is actually buying that car for 160 grand.
Is anybody actually paying that much? Fuck this is what I mean. There's got to be at least a few people, right, who are, because like if you just don't, like if you look at this number, you just don't know what it means. You're like, okay, well, whatever. If they tell you what the payment is and they're like, oh, it's $700 a month. You're like, oh, I could afford that. You know, I could figure that out in the finances. But yeah, you're paying for two of them.
And basically double what the car's price is. I made a whole video talking about this. Not going to re-explain it here. But the point is, like, you can only imagine how much worse this must get for something that is twice the duration of 72 months. 144 months. The interest payments on that must look completely asinine. You probably already know better than I. Literally no actual rich person is doing this. I noticed a lot of the 2025 Brokie epidemic has a lot in common with the fake rich phenomenon a few years back, because during those years there were a lot of people who would just flex these supercars and whatever, and they were actually loaning them. And even so, these supercar loans, as well as these buy now pay later schemes, they actually aim for this middle class fake rich, which are people who obviously aren't in poverty, but they're also not truly wealthy, but they still have enough money to be able to apply for these loans to begin with, and therefore fall for these traps. So Car Nicole has,
like I was saying earlier, you don't even need that much to, I mean, I guess supercars, there's a little bit more like of like you need some type of evidence of income or something to apply for a loan for a supercar. If it's like a $200,000+ car, I think that one's a little bit harder to fake. But I mean, like a BMW M3 or something, like, I don't know, you don't really need that much money to get into one of those in the first place. You like, if you could scrape together $3,000, you could probably walk into a dealership and use that as a down payment, and you know they're gonna bang you over the head with the interest payment. But if you sign a contract, they don't care. Like, they don't care. They're just, okay, man, you say you can afford it, here you go, here's the keys, and then you're in your beautiful car and you got the payment, and it's probably 84 months at that point. But I mean, like, it just seems like people don't care anymore. It kind of is, I don't know. This is such a recent phenomenon too, because I feel like just 10 years ago, people did care. Like, people did care about not being overwhelmed with auto debt. And now it is the norm. It is like, it's everywhere. It is 100% like acceptable to lock yourself into a 8-year loan or a 7-year loan at a high APR just to drive depreciating metal.
Whole video series covering the fake rich phenomenon if you need a better explanation. But someone who is actually rich also isn't applying for these loans either, since if they really did want a loan on a supercar, they'd probably just do 3, 5, maybe 6 years at most, or they'll just buy in full. And I know that some finance bro,
even like a really rich dude, like I guess maybe up to like 3 or 4% APR is like probably acceptable, because they're, you know, the returns and their investments are probably outpacing it by, you know, at least like 5%. It's still like, they're just gonna buy that shit in cash.
It's gonna hit me with it's called keeping your wealth streams open. Why would you sink 200 grand at once? Which is why buying in full is stupid, because I need to open up that cash for other opportunities. Let me do some actual finance speak for these wannabe finance bros. Keeping wealth streams flowing makes sense if you're loaning something at a lower interest rate than the market rate. This is one of those things, you're gonna see this later in the video too, where the phrase they're saying is true, but their understanding of it is completely incorrect. And sorry if this is starting to get dull and not interesting, so for younger Gen Z, jingle, here's me building a V8 engine in Minecraft using redstone, like, cause I've built a lot of cool things in this game. I might start a second channel on it. That's something I might do in the future. Anyways, there's a very low chance that the supercar's loan interest is going to yield more profit than the—
Bro, $144,000 in interest is at a 10% APR. Super common too. Amount financed $200,000. Damn, bro. Just that is someone's yearly income at that's a very nice yearly income in interest.
Index fund. So they have to ask themselves, can the content I make with this actually beat the market rate? The answer is oftentimes no, especially when you factor in insurance, wear and tear, depreciation from all the wear and tear, and again, depending on what interest rate they have, because that'll make it worse or better depending on how good they did, depending on their credit score. So, but what I'm talking about is like a lot of these fake rich people who make fun of brokies, they always own entry-level supercars that they then loan for 144 months. And these entry-level supercars, be completely honest with me, for all the car guys out there, are you really interested in seeing the 20,000th guy start a vlogging career on YouTube or Instagram with yet another Lamborghini Huracan? And yes, there are now—
I'm so glad this era ended, bro. It's still happening. People are still trying to hang on to the dream of like buying a Lambo and starting a YouTube channel. Thank God it's over. It was cool back in 2016. It was the last year I feel like it was cool was like 2019. It's over. It's It's no one cares about supercars anymore as far as just buying one to start like, oh, you know, going through Starbucks drive-through in my Lamborghini Huracan. It definitely had its moment. That's just done now though. I mean, what can you really do with supercar content that's left? Everything has been rinsed dry, you know? Everyone knows what it's like to live with one, what it's like daily driving my blank, my $1 million whatever. You just got to have more to it than that. But surely there's going to be an endless supply of people that are still financing Lambos, McLarens to start a YouTube channel. And, you know, I guess the entire concept of the content there is to like capture people's reaction to the fact that you own this car and you're like much cooler than everybody else around them. So you just are vlogging everybody reacting to your car maybe or something, or you destroy it, that's sick, right? That's actually sick if you buy one and you're just like thrashing on it and you're trying to break it all the time. I think that's more cool, but people aren't doing that because they're actually financing them and they can't afford to mess it up. So
that many of them made. And yes, every single one of them are vloggers as well. True wealth is usually being at the top of these wait lists and getting not entry-level supercars for one. They're getting very special high-end hypercars even that all have their examples already spoken for. And a lot of these entry-level supercar owning finance bros don't even know what that phrase means, which proves that they're the real Brokie here. Never ever fall for these fake finance gurus, and anyone outside the car bubble, you guys are probably rolling your eyes for the best reason because you guys already know this. You know that a lot of supercar flexers online, especially in the post-quarantine world, are grifters. But the amount of car guys who still think it's the 2017 supercar flexing meta and give the cope of bladed, I trust this guy because he's a Lambo and you don't. Your Corvette's broke boy status. Like, all right, go buy their crypto this time for sure.
Let's be honest, this is never going to stop. It's never going to go away. It's just rephrasing. If you think about it, like a guru has been around since forever, right? They've probably been around since before media started being captured. It's just now it's way easier to become one. Now you just have totally random anonymous faceless people on Twitter who are like, you know, comment blank below and I'll send you my 10-step program for escaping the matrix.
All right, you know, that one's gonna go to the moon. The old adage of fools are easily parted with their money still rings true even to this day. But unfortunately, the idea of being anti-saving is yet another component that's pushing forward this Brokie epidemic.
Gotta spend money to make money.
Sometimes you gotta spend money to make money. If I had $1 every time I heard this phrase, I'd have more money than everyone who says that phrase combined, which isn't that much since most of them are actually in debt. So I think literally anyone watching already has more money than most of them. If you're 15 years old and haven't even worked a job yet, congratulations. You technically have a higher net worth than most of these people with this logic. And again, like I said earlier this video, this phrase is true. It's not incorrect. Yeah. The understanding of it is what's incorrect. I don't want to sound like a bitter guy who's jealous of self-made millionaires. I think it's okay for individuals to gain financial independence and run a business they can be proud of. The problem is that a lot of people who say this phrase nowadays have no idea what it actually means. Instead, they just use it as an excuse to needlessly dump tens of thousands in hopes that they'll someday strike it big. Sometimes they just use this to even cover up bad habits. Like there are people who unironically call others brokies for not being able to DoorDash $30 on mid as hell fast food slop. I see this comment way too much on Caleb Hammer's channel. It's a horrible cook because whenever he makes fun of people for eating out too much, you always have people who are like, well, sorry, you guys are brokies who can't afford $30 meals. I can't stand, I hate DoorDash, bro. I hate all food delivery apps. That's like that one just personally, I hate it. Yeah, okay. I don't really have much more to say other than I can't stand food delivery apps, the stupid markups they have, the fact that they're not even fast. It's always faster to just get up and go get the food. The justification that people use that they need to order food instead of getting up and going to get it. That one actually, this is one of the first ones that I see that actually is, I fully agree with, and it makes me very upset. Is food delivery apps should die. A busy schedule. I'm grinding, bro. I can't be
cook. My schedule is too busy to ever cook, so I always eat out. Only pores cook is my new favorite. I just have I love this. I am going to use this in conversation at some point in the next week. Only pores cook.
Wasting time shopping or cooking. Ew. Fuck? If you were rich and successful, you'd understand that you gotta spend money to make money. I don't know
Oh
a
my
single
God.
real wealthy person, especially not the Koenigsegg or Pagani owners, who would order fast food DoorDash under the guise of it helps me grind, bro. Real rich people get it. No, they have personal chefs instead. Heck, some of them do just learn to cook too because it's fulfilling.
Cooking is
I love
fun,
cooking,
man.
all right? It's not that hard. Like, these grind set bros are the most susceptible to falling for literally
Forrest
any
Cook.
scam, since instead of accepting the true meaning
my
of
God.
grind set, which means being in it for the long run, a lot of them actually want get-rich-quick schemes. And to give a better example for a lot of the younger people watching who will understand this one, forget businesses, this also applies to content creation. If you haven't even started a channel or started streaming yet, should you really be buying a $5,000 gaming PC, $2,000 camera, $1,000 XLR microphone? No. But there are unfortunately people who answer, yes, I do, Bladed. I need to spend money to make money. The better my equipment, the more subscribers I'll get. That's exactly how that works.
Damn.
So when you go $8,000
Classic.
into the hole without any profit or even any viewers or without even a plan or without even starting your channel, what happens when 3 months passes by? You give up. And this isn't me talking down to people. So Healthy Gamer GG has a good video on this topic. I'm gonna summarize it briefly. A lot of people like to move the goalposts, and then they wonder why they're lazy or why they're disappointed that they aren't succeeding as fast as they wanted to, and why they want to give up now. So they call themselves lazy, they call themselves not determined, they have problems with motivation, they give up too easily. Believe it or not as many people are actually as lazy as they think they are, including most of you watching. Things in life get hard because we sometimes are guilty of making them needlessly hard, and this does apply to this exact phrase. The greatest content creators, the most successful authors, investors, and businessmen, all of them have one thing in common. They just started. And the first few things you make, by the way, suck. But that's okay, because guess how you get better? You suck first. You lose, and then you know how to not lose, and how to play the game better, so then you start winning, and winning. The lower the barrier of entry it is, the more your brain actually wants to do it. Please stop moving the hurdle. Moist Critical and many big creators still use USB microphones. I think he in specific uses an Audio Technica 2020. And look at his viewership, right? I don't think the general public will care about the 10 to 20% difference between a USB mic and XLR, and I know it's gonna hurt some audio files. And why do they call themselves that? No offense, that you guys might need to rebrand what you guys call yourselves. I know file doesn't have like a bad connotation, but with what it's commonly associated with nowadays, that just feels like a dirty word to say. But like I literally have a Shure XLR now, 8 years later in my YouTube career, and I bet hardly anyone cared my microphone even changed this year. Most people probably didn't even notice because they have such cheap headphones that it basically cancels out the 10 to 20% difference anyways. Like basically, if you have a USB mic or XLR mic, you sound good enough to most headphones. Just spend $100. You're more than good enough. Because if you only spend $100 and just start going off the rip, because most smartphones these days have good enough cameras. You don't need a super good camera off the rip. When you spend nothing or hardly anything, the first few months of even making a few dollars to a few $10 to even a few $100 instantly covers your starting expenses, so you don't feel demotivated. You feel the opposite. You go, whoa, I spent $100 to start this channel. I'm already making $200 after a few months. I feel great. I'm gonna keep going. Whereas if you spend $8,000, you will see the $200 as a failure. You'll be like, oh, I've been doing this for 3 months. I only made $200. I'm still $7,800 in the hole, and that's the problem. It recontextualizes everything. Tying this back in the video, it's like leveling in a video game. You know when you pick up a weapon and it's too high of a level for you currently, and it gives you the warning of this item's gonna have reduced stats until you properly meet the requirements. $10,000 of equipment is worthless to someone who just started and has no idea how to correctly use it. There are beginners out there who set up XLR microphones worse than how a USB microphone sounds out the box. That is just a fact, which is why you need to wait until you know what you're doing first before you upgrade the equipment anyways, because you've already made money by then too. So
this is one of the biggest mistakes that I made, but for me, it actually kind of panned out, is that when I first started making YouTube videos, I grew up in the Casey Neistat era, right? So like his big thing was he had like a big ass DSLR camera with a big ass microphone. He had a big ass Benny thing, and everything looked like a movie, right? So I feel like myself and a lot of people who started in that time all thought we needed to use like a big ass DSLR with like a nice lens that had depth of field and like a wide angle to capture everything going on, and let alone the fact that he always had some interesting stuff going on. Part of it felt like everything became a little bit more interesting because of the way that he filmed it. And if It seemed like in order to film things that way, you needed like a nice camera. But now it's completely flipped, where I think personally that nobody likes watching stuff that's filmed on a nice camera, or not necessarily that, but it doesn't enhance the content in any like particularly meaningful way at all. And it's actually better if you have the same content and you film it on a cell phone, like particularly an iPhone. There is something about the way that the iPhone looks, the quality of the footage, and the way that the skin tones appear, and just all the things about the iPhone make the video better to like audiences now. Compared to previously, iPhone footage was like bad and it was worse. It was a worse video because it was filmed on an iPhone, and it would be better if you did it on a big camera that was expensive and it was like a kind of a barrier to entry. There's also like vloggers that use like the G7X. That used to be like the camera for vlogs. Well, it was still like $800. Now, most people just have a phone. Like they have an iPhone, and that is the way to do it, in my opinion. If you're starting, the best, like it's not just like the best way to start because you already have it, but it's actually the best way to start because it's the best way to capture and show footage, and the way that the footage looks is the best in the same way that it used to be that the big cameras was the best. Now it's the phone is the best because it is just, that's just how it is. Like it just is. Like that's just the way that it is, and that's how it is now. So you don't need anything. You just need a phone. Like you actually just need a phone. You can film it on the phone. You can edit it on the phone. You can figure out your first like basics around creating thumbnails on the phone. And the two most important parts of the YouTube video creating process is the thumbnail and the title. That title you can like is in your brain. So that's 50% of the work. 80% of the work can be done with a cell phone. And then 20% is a thumbnail. I feel like you know, that's kind of a little bit more in depth, but the phone is the way to go now. And if you have a phone, that's all you need. You don't need anything else. You don't need a fancy laptop. You don't need a fancy camera. You don't need production equipment. You don't need a super nice microphone. Obviously, if you're doing videos like this, I'm at my house, you know, I have like a camera set up and a computer, but like if I wanted to do this in the most budget way, I'm pretty confident I could get my foot in the door for under $1,000. I think I could get like a $500 to $600 computer. Like I would get a webcam. Honestly, I don't need to be using this camera that I just have. I would use a webcam, and I'd be in the game. And then it's all about the actual video you make, not necessarily the stuff you have.
Develop the skills properly and meet requirements correctly. That is why the phrase of spend money to make money is a correct phrase, but not many people, or rather almost no one these days, ever uses it correctly. And it sucks because now people think it's an incorrect logic for your business, because it is okay to scale up your business after you've proved your business works. Don't scale up something that doesn't exist. If you haven't even started yet, there is nothing to scale up yet. You are needlessly raising your barriers of entry. I'm not going to repeat it. Rewind 5 minutes to rewatch everything what I said about authors and successful people and the barriers of entry, whatever. Okay. Anyways, that's my rant on this Brokie epidemic. Here's to hoping y'all won't be needlessly going into debt and then projecting your brokenness onto others who aren't actually broke just because you have more nice things in them. Subscribe for more weekly situation updates and like.
This was a really good video. I'm gonna link it in the description. I love this. I love everything about this. Let's not be brokies.